Hi guys, I welcome you all to day 48 of our anthropology lecture series. We had started the chapter religion, so let's proceed with it. We had already done the approaches and sacred profane topics, so today's topic would be myths and rituals. Now, a very important part of any religion is its myths and its rituals, right? So, if we have to define what a myth is, we would say that it is symbolic narrative. Symbolic means something which is more symbolic in nature than having a definite meaning, right? Symbolic होता है, for example, जब हम when we put on tilak on the head, that symbolizes कि as a mark of respect. That could be किसी हम जब कोई सेरेमनी स्टार्ट करते हैं तब लगाते हैं. सो ऑल ऑफ दैट सिम्बॉलिक नैरेटिव, राइट? सो सिम्बॉलिक नैरेटिव ऑफ अननोन ओरिजिन, दैट मीन्स difference between history and myth would be somewhere that we do not know the origin, थोड़ा unknown रहता है, ठीक है? Partly traditional and relates to actual events and specifically associated with religious beliefs. So now there are 2-3 things which need to know about myth is that first of all, ये थोड़ा it is traditional. That means ये it talks about your tradition. Tradition क्या होता है? It's amalgamation of so many customs, rituals, which are part of your culture from many from many years, from many generations. So whatever goes on from generation to generation as part of culture, as part of society, becomes the tradition, right? जैसे हम बोलेंगे this is the part of Indian tradition. So what is that? Which has been going on from our forefathers. So basically it is traditional, it is unknown origin. That means we still have the doubt ki whether this really happened, this really existed or not. So there's a fictional aspect, attached to it. There's a story attached to it. These are the beliefs of gods and superhumans. So traditional होता है, actual events हो सकता है, unknown origin होता है. So all of these are the characteristics of myths, ठीक है? So now myths are usually religious but not always. कुछ कस्टमरी भी हो सकते हैं, ठीक है? कुछ ट्रेडिशनल मिथ्स भी हो सकते हैं. सो दैट मीन्स इट कैन बी ऑल्सो कि जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल विलेज का मिथ है, राइट? दिस इज अ विलेज का मिथ है. तो दैट मीन्स वेदर दे आर हिंदूज, whether they are Muslims in that village or whether they are Sikhs in that village, they all believe in that myth, ठीक है ना? So mostly religious होती है, but उसके अलावा भी there are many myths, and there are myths in every society, ठीक है? This word myth has come from the Greek word mythos, which means fiction, story, like that, ठीक है? There are great variety of myths, जैसे हमने बात किया. And जैसे एक very famous example of a myth is Oedipus complex. This was explained by Sigmund Freud, ठीक है? When he talked that there was a man who would keep all the women to himself, and the sons were very upset about this, that they would not get any female and all of that. So they killed the father, and then they repented a lot that why did we kill the father, and made some totem animal, as they believe that their father has, its spirit has gone into this totem, so they would start worshipping that totem. So that is a myth again. That's a story of unknown origin that relates to actual events associated with their religious beliefs, right? So all of this is about myth. Then functions क्या रहते हैं myths के? It explains things. For example, origin of corn in Abenaki, ठीक है? Then there are many things, जैसे Indian mythology का part है about origin of many things, ठीक है ना? जैसे vegetables, many other things का origin कैसे हुआ, right? So it helps us explain that in a very mythological way. Then healing and inspiration. Now for example, you have to say जैसे कि many things which we Indians do, we root it to the माइथोलॉजी, राइट, कि जैसे हम बोलते हैं पुरुषोत्तम राम जी, ठीक है, राम जी, हाउ गॉड राम behaved, we will also try and imbibe those things in us, so it becomes a part of our culture, it becomes part of our tradition, and we learn from it, it gives us healing. कि obviously जब whenever we feel bad about something, we always will say कि okay, there'll be ultimately the victory of good over evil, right? This is also a part of our mythology, कि good over evil always prevails, right? So whenever we feel unhappy about anything, so we will say कि okay, let's leave it as it is, good will prevail eventually, right? So this is the part of mythology, wo it tries to perpetuate the social solidarity, because everybody would try to conform itself to that thing, right? So the society, whenever any person would deviate from the social norms, people would try and bring him back to that, because in that way it acts as a means of social control also. So all these things you can always correlate, you just need to have that understanding, आप वो correlate कर सकते हैं, right? This was about myth. Then uh, the view of Malinowski on myth is that it's more than idle speculation. Malinowski was a functionalist, okay? और functionalist का काम क्या होता था? Rather than looking at ki how things evolved, they used to look what is the function that it serves, right? Because many a things in this past, मतलब so much past जो हम ढूंढ नहीं सकते, फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो हिस्ट्री है, ठीक है, दैट्स नॉट वेरी ओल्ड, ठीक है ना, वी हैव रिटन रिकॉर्ड्स फॉर इट, ठीक है, वी हैव वेरियस आर्कियोलॉजिकल एविडेंसेस फॉर इट, but there are many things, क्योंकि human evolution has been so long and we have stayed on this earth for very few years, right? So as compared to the whole human history also, so how to see ki how evolution must have happened, ठीक है, that becomes a very very complex task in the absence of information that is scientific, or you can say which you can trust upon, right? So functionists would say that you cannot always look at the evolution, and many a times it would come out as a very futile exercise. So rather than doing that, you should look at the function of the things. And now tomorrow or day after tomorrow we are going to start that chapter only, that is chapter 6. So all these concepts will be clear, do not worry. So functionist थे Malinowski. So he would say that myth is, अभी तक जो हमने myth के बारे में बात करी, it is saying that it's a fictional thing, ठीक है, it's a story kind of a thing, ठीक है. So उससे हमें it makes us believe that it must not have been true, right? But Malinowski says even if it is not true, even if it is a idle, even if it is a speculation, ठीक है, do not look at it as a speculation, look at it what purpose it is serving you. It is a device of learning, ठीक है, it is a device of education, religious maintenance, जो भी हमने बात किया इससे पहले, that whenever you look at things, you get a sense that how you should behave in the society, how you should take care. For example, there are many things that we learn from these myths, right? That you should always take care of your parents, you should always behave in a righteous manner, good always will prevail over the evil eventually. So all these things are a source of guidance to us, so we cannot say that they are mere speculations, but Malinowski says it has a function to serve, and this is the function that it is serving. Then comes the Claude Lévi-Strauss. He was a structuralist, okay, that means more than the function, he was he used to put his emphasis on that how the things have this structure that it has. Now all over the world you will see myths जो होती है ना, they are based on a binary opposition. Now I'm taking you to a lot of 6 chapter का syllabus, but चलो we'll do it again and again तो याद हो जाएगा. Binary opposition क्या होती है? Two contrasts. For example, if I say I, that means it's me, then it would be we or you, right? So that will be a contrast. If I say black, then the contrast would be white, right? So if I say good, the contrast would be evil or bad, right? So mostly the myths are based on these contrasts, ठीक है? All over the world, this was again studied by Claude Lévi-Strauss. So he believes that this binary opposition is not something which is reflective of the myths, but it is reflective of the minds of the individuals, which are more or less similar. So he also talked about the psychic unity. Psychic unity क्या हो गया? That all over the human मतलब history or all over the world, individuals think alike, and there is a binary opposition in our mind. And when he used to talk about the thing about the structure, so he says all these structures that they're all part of our mind. That means the structuring is done in our mind. If we talk about a language, ठीक है, language, एक language का part होता है to just communicate, और एक language का part होता है उसका structure, right? अब मेरे को कैसे बोलना है? If I have to deliver something, if I have to say a sentence, I will say my name is Aparajita, ठीक है? My name is Aparajita, ठीक है? Then अगर मेरे को यही चीज़ हिंदी में बोलनी है तो मैं बोलूँगी मेरा नाम अपराजिता है. So this is the structuring. So this structuring happens in the mind. So Claude Lévi-Strauss believed this. So let's not deviate from the topic. So he believed this myth is also product of the mind, and it is one of the closest thing that we do it in our unconscious mind. That means this stark opposition of good over bad, these myths, which show binary opposition, were developed in our mind. So myth is a product of mind. This was believed by Claude Lévi-Strauss. I hope you understood. If you do not understand this any way, because it is because that you do not know about the theories of anthropology, so it will be more clear to you once we read that. Okay, so this was all about myths. Now comes the ritual. For example, you can see these people are sitting, they are wearing some white dhoti kind of thing, and they are having very specific things in their plates, whatever thali aap bolo usko. They are having some leaf, then they are having flowers, then they are having some other things like that. So this is a part of rituals. Okay, so ab hum padhne wale rituals. Now what are rituals? They are performance of ceremonial acts. Ceremonial acts, ceremony, that means some important occasion. When on some important occasion you perform certain acts which are prescribed by your tradition or by a sacerdotal degree. Sacerdotal degree होगी priestly degree. Okay, मतलब priest, if some priest or your tradition says so that in this ceremony you must perform certain rituals, that becomes basically that are rituals. So जैसे हम बोल सकते हैं on in Indian marriages, ठीक है, you have to take those 7 feras, right? And then you take some vows. Every fera has a vow. Then you put something in the havan, right? All these are what? They are rituals. These are marriage rituals. Then you have many other rituals in many other communities, like there are funerary rituals, all of this, right? So then rituals, it says that humans are a ritual being. That means humans ultimately will come to a stage when it will start performing certain rituals. Okay, now ये कैसे होता है? We'll come to it. Manipulation of religious symbols. Basically तो it is that only ना. We make this havan, that fireplace, okay, and then we put something in that, right? And then we let it burn, and then it will symbolize something, right? जैसे कि in Zoroastrians, the symbol of fire is different. So all of this we have given symbols, it meanings, right? जैसे if I talk about the sacred thread that is worn by Brahmins, ठीक है, I would just say the word, the sacred thread, and you will know, okay, what is the meaning of that, right? So this is what it is. We don't even need to explain it कि वो क्या है. We will only know it, ठीक है. अगर thread है, ठीक है, we would say it's just a thread. but it has certain meaning to it is certain meaning which is attached to it, and this has happened through rituals, through a lot of what you can say, this has been going on in the tradition. So this becomes a part of tradition. We have manipulated those religious symbols over and over again to give it a meaning, right? Then they can be verbal or non-verbal. For example, if I start singing some hymn or a bhajan, that will become verbal, and similarly non-verbal would be some actions, right? Okay, jaise, right. Then comes your rituals of passage, funerary and marriage rituals. So this is just example ki how many different kind of rituals can there be, right? Marriage pe hote hain, then there are many tribes who do it in the funerary rituals. Then there are rites de passage. Rites de passage ho gaya basically when you transit from one phase of your life to the other. For example, in our traditional Hindu scriptures also, when you pass the brahmacharya and start to lead a grihast ashram, you will go through a rites de passage. Then the next cycle, rites de passage. Similarly, in many South Indian tribes, what they do is when the girl starts to hit puberty, right, they will do some rituals. Okay, they will call people, they will celebrate, they will sing songs, they will eat food together. That means they are doing a rites de passage of a girl, you know, getting into a femalehood. Okay, so these are certain rituals, the kinds of rites de passage, right? So then now Fraser believed that how they must have evolved, how these rituals must have come in. So he says it must have come in through the magic, because he really believed that magic was the first thing that the humans must have evolved. ठीक है? So basically magic कहाँ से आता है? Magic comes from the man's insecurity or its not being able to manipulate the environment. For example, if there's a flood that occurs, ठीक है? Man would of course become fearful of that ना. It is so deadly, dreadful लगता है इंसान को. So जब प्रिमिटिव लोगों को समझ नहीं आता था कि what causes these famines, what causes these floods and earthquakes and all these things that are beyond human control, so they tried to manipulate it in some way. So they must have come with the idea of magic, that we'll perform these rituals and we'll do this, we'll try to pacify and the god, these natural things. So ultimately we will try to overcome it. So this must be the way rituals must have come in, is the point of view of Fraser. Then Durkheim and W.R. Smith believes that no, it must have come from the totemism. Now हमने totem की भी बात करी थी. Totem is a belief that you attach to a plant, animal or a natural phenomena. It could be anything. So basically there are different clans that attach themselves in a very mystical relationship with some plant. For example, we can say neem का पेड़ है, ठीक है, and some clan is there who believes that their ancestors, their gods reside in this neem का पेड़, right? So what will they do is ना, they will start worshipping that thing and they will do all sorts of rituals around that neem का पेड़. So that must be the way कि rituals must have come in. So this is the belief of Durkheim and W.R. Smith. So then there's a functional view also कि this is the evolutionist belief ki how rituals must have started, but functionalist says look at the function. Okay, so the function is adaptive and adjustive response to social physical environment. Again the same thing, basically they are saying what is the purpose that it serves. It serves the purpose of adjustment to the environment. वही वाली बात है कि if there is floods and people feel scared of it, so they want to have certain kind of harmony and peace within themselves. So they start believing, okay, we must have upset the sea god, so that must have created these floods. So let us now do some rituals to pacify the sea god, and now maybe these floods would not come. Or maybe anytime the floods come, they must think that we must have done something wrong, that is why this flood has come, so now we need to pacify the sea god. So this is how the functionalists believe कि rituals आए होंगे, right? So now there's another thing that you need to understand, the relationship that myths and rituals share. So इसमें भी there are three views, relation between myths and rituals. So first view is the evolutionist view, which says that basically it is very important कि rituals must have come after the myth. So myth, there would be some myth, that means there would be some fictional story, there is some unknown religious story they have in their mind, and now over the years they must have started to perform certain rituals around that story, and that is how rituals must have come in. So उनके हिसाब से myth came first. Second thing is the other view, that is by Fraser, because Fraser believed that magic came first. So magic, maybe you perform certain activities, so basically it takes him to closer to rituals, क्योंकि magic में भी you perform certain things. So there are certain rituals that you have to do. That means आप पहले ये करोगे, then you, this is not the magic that you're thinking जो modern world का magic होता है. This is not that kind of magic. This is very like pristine kind of magic that they're talking about, which is very like unscientific also at times, right? So he thought क्योंकि magic he thought came first, so उससे we can say that he believed कि rituals came first, and the myth was woven around the rituals. ठीक है? So this is the second view, and third view is by Malinowski. He believes, and there are many others also, I'm just naming one. So he believes they were coextensive. That means he said कि you can't really decide कि पहले कौन आया. It's the same discussion कि मुर्गा पहले आया अंडा. ठीक है? This is the same kind of discussion. पहले क्या आया? So Malinowski believed that they are very coextensive. That means वो साथ में, they must have occurred parallelly around the same time, and then they got mixed with each other. So today they are very integrated. You cannot take one thing away from the other, right? So this completes our topic, myths and rituals. Today we'll do one more, that is the thing that I was telling you from so many days, types of religion in tribal and peasant societies. So these tribal peasant societies, from very simple to very complex kind of religions, they follow it all. ठीक है? Simple because कुछ evolutionary trends हैं, and complex because today the societies are not, these tribal peasant societies are not isolated, they have contact with the modern society, so complex also. So let's see certain tribal societies ka religion. First is animism. Now we have talked about it. It is mostly the belief in soul. ठीक है? This was given by E.B. Taylor in his book The Primitive Culture, and he believed that this was the basic or the first kind of religion that must have evolved, right? So minimum type of religion is animism, that E.B. Taylor के accordingly. ठीक है? So this he saw in traditional belief of African people, and इसमें होता क्या है basically, like they believe that spirits dwell in rock, mountains, rivers. For example, आप वो भी देख लो in our Indian traditional mythology also, we will say ना गंगा की पूजा करना है, right? Ganges as god भी पूजा जाता है. So what is that? Even though we know that it does not have any like soul to it, but हम उसको पूजते हैं ना, we think that it gives us so much. Mother Earth, it's the same thing, Mother Earth, right? So हम मानते हैं everything has a soul. So this must have come from some our tribal instincts, right? We believe that Mother Earth has a soul, water has a soul, mountains has a soul, everything has a soul, right? So this is what it is. So Korwa tribe में there are two kind of spirits. One तो जैसे हम अभी तक हम बात करें, they are only good souls that we are talking about. But in Korwa tribes they also talk about malevolent souls. That means which can also hurt you, which can good souls तो वो होंगी which will protect you, which will give you life, which will give you food, and there are they're bad spirits also that Korva tribe believe there are. So benevolent, that means the good ones, so they pray too. But malevolent, they pray more because they think that now they can hurt us more, so we should keep them in good humor, like that, right? So this was animism. Then comes animatism, which is also known as Bongaism or Manaism. Basically it came from the theory of the mana that was proposed by R.R. Merritt in his book The Theory of Origin of Religious Beliefs. So he believed, no, it was not animism but animatism. It was animatism which was the first kind of religion. So इसमें क्या होता है, there is some impersonal power over which people have some sort of control. Now try to understand. For example, there is a tribe and there are chiefs, okay, and they have like a paramount chiefdom kind of a system where there are small chiefs and there are small chiefs and there is one big chief that they have, okay. So they have small chiefs also and they have one big chief also. So these chiefs will also have a power that they can exercise, which is mana, okay. But this big chief, because he is more powerful, he has bigger mana, that means he has more power to him, okay. Similarly, if people do not after some time associate with him and they feel that he should not remain the chief and some other person should be made the bigger chief, the big chief, right? So what will happen, they will believe that his mana is declining and now this mana is shifting to this new person, so now he should have the authority, right? So this is how they believe that there is some impersonal power over which they have some sort of a control. That means there is power that exists with somebody and they have some control over him, okay. This is also believed in Melanesians. I mean, R.R. Merritt's made his theory based on Melanesians. And then in India there is Munda tribe, जो ऐसा ही similar they have similar concept which is called the Bongaism. जैसे for example, for them, if they see a cycle, they think that it has power, of course, because if you walk bare feet, you can walk slowly and you cannot walk a great distance, but cycle, they think they can go a long way, so they will think that it has power, so it is a bonga, okay. But when they will see car, they will say it's a greater bonga, or if they will see an aeroplane, that's the greatest bonga, okay. So then that is how they attach power to things, right? So this was animatism. Then comes the fetishism. Fetishism has come from a word fetikos, which means skillfully crafted object. Now what is skillfully crafted object? Basically it's very simple, that if I make something, for example a sword, okay, so now this sword, they will have this sword as a fetish object. It could be anything it could be, okay. They worship that object, whatever they have a fetish with, they will start resonating with that. For example, Rajputs जो होते हैं उनके लिए भी एक तलवार is a very important sign, right? Maybe they were the Kshatriya tribe and all of that. It could be anything which you start to worship and attach your feelings towards, right? So this term was given by Fanel Brosius, and he believed that it occupied supernatural beings. That means ये जो fetikos होता है ना, in the religious way, if we have to talk about, this will have have some supernatural being. For example, शिवलिंग का example आप लो तो it's the same kind of thing, ठीक है. शिवलिंग is basically it is a kind of stone that is naturally occurring, right? So they believe that it is attached to Shiva, right? So that is why it is called Shivling. So this is also an example of fetishism. You can think of any others if you like. Then comes the naturalism. Naturalism is simply worship of nature. Because होता क्या है, if we especially talk about these primitive tribal people, now today we know why earthquakes come, because there is seismic activity and there is tension in the tectonic plates and all of that we know, right? But this primitive people do not know, right? They do not know the exact reason why floods come, why famines occur. They yet not have arrived on the point of manipulation of nature like us, right? So unke liye these things are beyond their imagination, beyond their understanding. So when things are beyond you, and even till today, something which is beyond your understanding and imagination, you leave it to God, you believe that it is God, right? So unke liye, like floods, earthquakes, these things are also beyond imagination. So what they do is, now they attach a supernatural aspect to it. That means उनको क्योंकि समझ नहीं आता क्यों होता है, so they think that this is supernatural, this is created by God, and they start to worship the nature. So this is how the genesis of naturalism must have come in as a religion. Okay, then comes the totemism. We have talked about a lot about it. Totemism, Emily Durkheim, ठीक है, elementary form of religious life, इस book में he explained, right? So this word must have derived from the word totem of North Africa, or the word O totem of Ojibwa tribe, ठीक है. So these could be two मतलब ideas from where this word totem must have come in. So hota kya hai, there are clans, you know, there are different tribes which arrange themselves into different clan, and every clan has a different mystical relationship with some plant, animal or a natural phenomena, ठीक है. इनका कुछ और हो सकता है, इनका कुछ और हो सकता है, like that. So now they have a taboo against its killing. That means if they believe that they have tiger as their totem, they will never kill. और ठीक है, इनका चीता है, ठीक है, so they will never kill cheetah, right? So it is like that. They will always protect him because they have a very mystical relation. They believe that he is the savior of the clan. So if any day cheetah would extinct, we will also extinct. So it is like that. So it will be so great na, in the modern days we also start to adopt some plants, animals like that. Maybe we'll be able to save the earth, right? So then they are also exogamous groups. For example, this is the clan which consider itself uska mystical relation cheetah ke साथ है. So they will never marry inside that group, because they believe that every good thing that is happening to them is because of this cheetah, and even if the females are getting pregnant, it is because of the cheetah. So now this kind of a thinking is there. So agar every woman is getting pregnant because of that, so that means they all are brothers and sisters, so they will never marry in their group. So this is how they think, right? So they will marry maybe in this group, this group, this group, like that. Okay, then there is periodic collective worship. That means they will together, they will collectively worship this totem, animal, plant, like that. And often there is ceremonial killing also. So sometimes they do it, sometimes, but not always. And then they put tattoos, then they wear masks of their totem animal, wear skin clothes of the totem animal, like this. These are certain African masks that they wear of their totems, and all based on their religious beliefs, right? So this is what it is. And now if we have to see the impact of modern societies on, you know, the religious beliefs of tribals, so we can say today the modern religions like Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, right, all these have also been adopted by the tribes because of the contact, because of in fact not only they have adopted to it, but many have left their own cultures only, and they have fully adopted them. For some kya hai, they are also following their own culture, and then they are following this Buddhist tradition or some other tradition. But जो Hinduism है या Islam cultures है ना, if they have adopted these ना, they have totally forgotten their own, and they have completely adopted these ones, right? So this would also be the part of our paper 2, so you will read it in much more detail there, right? So I hope you like the chapter. There are a few topics that one topic is left in this chapter, magic, religion, science. So we'll try to complete it tomorrow and finish this chapter itself, and day after tomorrow we'll start with the very, very important topic, that is anthropological theories. So I hope you guys liked it, and please, if you liked it, share and subscribe, guys. Thank you so much.